I've got the guide for you. We're doing a bridal bouquet. From start to finish, we're doing a bridal bouquet. Yeah! Hey there, flower stabbers! Today we are doing a complete walkthrough on how to do a bridal bouquet from the very start, solo flower to final product, tying off the handle. So if you've ever wanted to see how a complete bridal bouquet is done, this is your video. Don't forget, subscribe to build the floral empire. Woo! And now, let's start the show! The first order of business today is going to be adding this vegetable glycerin to each of these containers of warm water. So vegetable glycerin is actually something that is used in cooking, so it is non-toxic. It's something that technically you could eat. However, I wouldn't suggest it. It doesn't taste very good. I'm using my paintbrush to mix it all up, and then I will be checking the consistency. The right consistency will be where you can just feel it as like a slight film on your finger, and that's when you know you have enough. I do have an article where I show the exact amounts if you want to be specific about it, but I'm not going to be specific. Now I am adding the paint to the water. The paint color I will be putting in the description down below so you can find it. And I'm going to be mixing it up. You're going to want to have a good amount in there, especially for the amount of water that I have in there. If you want to check it and see if it has good coverage, just dip the bottom of the flower in and see how it's doing. It seems to be a good amount of coverage here, and so I'm going ahead and dipping the whole flower in and shaking it off. Now I've got 10 flowers to do, so I'm going to go through and dip them all up. Just making sure to cover everything. It helps to tilt the container and get all the coverage in and get them colored. And sometimes you'll find that the edges will come uncurled. The best thing to do is to go in and just curl them back. You can take the edges of the wood and just between your two fingers and just roll them back on themselves and press, and it helps maintain that shape and helps them to stay curled and pretty like they came. As you can see, again, just taking and curling the edges there. It's really easy. It's something that a lot of people will complain about with these flowers, but it's really easy to just take and roll back and fix, and it looks just as beautiful as before. The next step is we're going to be adding the blue paint in. As you can see, I put a good amount in there and I'm mixing it up. This blue paint is kind of like a gray blue, which I think is super pretty. And again, I'll be putting the paint colors in the description down below. That seems to be looking about right. So again, oh, actually, I decided there needs to be a little bit more paint. So I'm going to add a little bit more. And then I'm going to dip my flowers in, and as you can see, it gets pretty good coverage there and it looks really blue. If you are dipping your flowers in and the color looks streaky or isn't covering well, just add more paint in and mix it in. The best thing to really do is to test the bottom of the flower first and like see how the coverage looks on the bottom of the flowers before dipping the whole flower in. Or if you're having struggles getting the paint to cover well, especially dark reds or blacks or really dark colors, you can let them dry and then dip it again to get them more darker color without it streaking or looking faded. There are those flowers. We're taking the red flowers and dipping them again for the reason I mentioned before, where it helps them get the darker color. And you can see here the contrast between the two, where it just makes it just that shade or two darker and makes it a really good real red. Now I'm taking this greenery right here. This is lamb's ear. It's a soft greenery. It's really great for adding some fun fuzzy texture in there. And I'm going to go ahead and start working on getting them all stemmed and separated out. This is something I've showed in a previous video, but I'm just taking the greenery and I'm taking the leaves and stemming them separately after pulling them off of the main branch to get more out of my greenery. It helps the greenery be spread out more and show up more in the bouquet, and honestly it helps you save money on greenery. One of the most expensive parts of these bouquets tends to be the greenery. You can end up spending a lot on greenery, and so the best thing to do is to shop around. You can get greenery at Walmart. You can get greenery at the dollar store. I would avoid that. And Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Joann's, all those places. You can actually even find it on Amazon. And then here I'm going to go ahead and start stemming my roses. These roses have a little bit of a stem sticking out from the bottom of them, so the best thing to do is literally dip the stick in glue and then stab it up the flower, and then take your floral tape and wrap it around that stem and wrap it down the wire to just kind of give an extra assurance that the flower is not going to pop off. Oh, there's my son's hand. And as you can see there, just stick it right up there, not that hard, wrap it around. If you're a little bit worried about it coming undone, it's really easy just to stick a little bit of glue on that tape to keep it from coming undone. But overall, not that difficult, and it's an easy step to prevent flowers from popping off. There's my flowers! Alright, now we're going to do the blue flowers. The blue flowers have a little bit of a different bottom. As you can see here, the bottom is more flat rather than poking out. So we're going to go ahead and stab in the middle there, and then we're going to take our floral tape and kind of wrap it on top of the base of the flower, gluing it basically to the bottom of the flower, and then we'll wrap it down the wire. This is the best way to keep it secure on both the flower and the wire, and it just adds that extra layer of security that the flower is not going to pop off the wire. Some people believe that this step is not necessary. I like to do it, especially with bouquets that are going to be tossed or that are going to customers, because flowers popping off is never a good thing, and this just helps prevent that issue. As far as wrapping wrapping floral tape. Floral tape is a tape that becomes more sticky the more you stretch it. And so as you are wrapping it down that wire, you want to make sure that you are pulling on the floral tape as you wrap around. And that will help it stick, and it will stick really well to itself. If you're worried about it coming undone though, it's really easy just to add a little bit of hot glue on the end or even at the beginning, and that will help it stick where it needs to. And just like I'm adding hot glue to the bottom of the flower to help it stick to the bottom of the flower, you can do that at the end. There's my flowers! Alright, so because the customer that I'm making this for wanted to have some dark blues in there, I'm actually going to be taking my airbrush and adding some dark blues into the center of the flower. And really, I'm just going with a really easy spray paint technique here, where I'm just starting in the center and then I'm quickly moving outwards to spray the edges. And it just helps blend that dark blue in, and it just adds a little bit of dimension to the flowers to make them look more realistic. Alright, so the next step is to arrange the greenery. This bouquet is more greenery oriented, so we're starting with the greenery first. I'm taking my lamb's ear and then I'm adding in this Acrylic? I forget what it's called. I'm slaughtering the name. I'll put the name of it down in the description. But basically I'm taking the lamb's ear and then I'm arranging the darker greenery around, and what this is doing is creating a shape for the flowers to come in. The greenery, basically what you want to do is just kind of spread it out the most you can, putting some in the center, putting some around the outside, and just really using your eye to make it even and spread throughout. Alright, so there we go. I'm going to go ahead and wrap the greenery with some floral tape to keep it all together and make it easier for when I'm sticking the flowers in. Remember, with floral tape, the best thing to do is to pull it tighter to help it to stay together and stick to itself. Now we are going to go ahead and stick the flowers in. Remembering, when you're putting flowers in, you want to do it as a math equation. So without getting too complicated, we're doing 3 layers and I've got 10 flowers, and so we are doing 5, 3, and 2. So we're putting 2 in the center, we're putting 3 on the second layer, and then putting 5 around the outside. The center, you'll put the 2 together, the 3 on the second layer, you're going to create basically a triangle, and then the 5 you'll put evenly around the outside of the bouquet. Following this rule will help create evenness and symmetry in your bouquets, which will look really beautiful and help you have a really round and even look to your bouquet rather than a crock-eyed or uneven, or having things stick in and out randomly throughout your bouquet. As you can see now, I'm adding in the red roses. The red roses, I also have 10 of those, and so I'm going to be following that same rule. However, I found that at the end there was 1 rose that I didn't need after putting it all around the outside. When you're sticking these flowers in, you'll want to make sure that you stick them down and through the bouquet. So you're going to be sticking the stem down across. It's going to go across through the inner workings of all those stems, and then you're going to pull the stem down on the other side and pull it down into the handle. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a sec. So you see I'm pushing it through, turn it around, pulling that stem down into the handle. And this will create more stability to your bouquet, and it will help keep things all intermeshed and help pull it keeps everything all interconnected and pulled together. Obviously your floral tape is going to help some, but this is just another little trick that helps keep things round and together and shapely, and so that way you don't have unevenness to your bouquet. Now that I've got those flowers in, I'm going to add another layer of floral tape. The floral tape is really great for helping keep things all together and keep them from falling apart. It makes it a little bit easier on your hand than trying to keep everything all in your hand at the same time. If you're doing a hand-tied bouquet, you won't do this and it'll be a little bit different, but since we're doing a round bouquet, this works perfectly. The next thing I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be adding in these floral handle covers. These I found off of Love Solo. That, as far as I know, that's the only company that sells those currently. But basically, that's these wood painted like a dark green sticks. They're like dark green sticks that you stick up into the bouquet and you arrange them around the handle, and it gives it a more organic feel rather than having wires stick out, and I absolutely love it. And it really gives it a real realistic appeal. And after that, I'm going to add my floral tape, and then I'll be adding a ribbon around. Again, floral tape, just pull tight and it will stick to itself. Just like that. And then gluing it to keep it in place. And then I'm going to add my ribbon in. I'm going to tie a nice little bow. The ribbon, basically just wrap it around itself, and then you can put a bow at the end. Ribbon is optional. There's many different ways you can finish off a bouquet. You can leave it with just the greenery like that. I would suggest putting a ribbon or some string. You know, there's that twine looking string that's really great to cover with, just to kind of cover up that floral tape right at the end, and it gives it a really finished look. So there you have it. That is how you make a bridal bouquet from start to finish. As you can see, we look really great. The flowers are all even. We've got everything all round and looking great. Hey, thanks so much for watching the video today. I hope you learned everything about how to make a floral bouquet. It was very fun to make, and I am hoping that you will be able to make one as well. Don't forget that I have an Instagram set up for sharing your photos, and if there is a bouquet that you would like to see remade as Sola Flower, please leave it in the comments down below, and I will possibly do it in a future video. So Leave your comments down below, tips, links, subscriptions. I love to talk to my subscribers, so let's talk. So without further ado, let's go and stay creative. I love to stab flowers, I love to stab flowers. We love to stab flowers because we are wood